The sleek, silver shuttle glided into the docking bay of the Galactic Academy of Sciences, its hull still glowing from atmospheric entry. As the airlock hissed open, a solitary figure emerged, blinking in the harsh artificial light of asteroid X-17, home to the most prestigious learning institution in the known universe. Taran Vos, the first human ever admitted to the Academy, took a deep breath of recycled air and straightened his shoulders. The weight of humanity's hopes rode with him, a burden he felt with every step onto the polished obsidian floor. Terran student, a monotone voice crackled from a nearby console. Report to Central Processing for decontamination and orientation. Taran nodded, though no one was there to acknowledge the gesture. He hefted his bag, containing everything he'd brought from Earth, and strode towards the indicated corridor. The hallways were a riot of color and sound, filled with beings of every conceivable shape and size. Some floated, others slithered, and a few seemed to phase in and out of existence as they moved. As Taran navigated the crowd, he couldn't help but notice the stares and whispers that followed him. Phrases and languages he didn't understand reached his ears, but the tone was unmistakable: surprise, disdain, and in some cases, outright hostility. "Watch where you're going, Earthling," a voice snarled as Taran accidentally bumped into a towering insectoid creature. Its mandibles clicked in irritation, compound eyes flashing with annoyance. "I'm sorry," Taran began, but the being had already turned away, chittering to its companions. Taran caught the word primitive amidst the alien speech and felt his cheeks burn. He quickened his pace, finally reaching the central processing chamber. A holographic attendant materialized before him, its form shifting through various alien species before settling on a vaguely humanoid shape. Species: human. Planet of origin: Earth. Name: Taran Vos, the hologram intoned. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences. Please step into the decontamination chamber." Taran complied, gritting his teeth as waves of energy washed over him, eliminating any potentially harmful Earthborne microbes. When he emerged, his skin tingled, and he felt oddly light, as if a layer of himself had been stripped away. "Decontamination complete," the hologram announced. "Proceed to the Grand Hall for the welcoming ceremony. Your assigned living quarters and class schedule will be transmitted to your neural implant." Taran blinked, momentarily confused. "I don't have a neural implant," he said. The hologram flickered, its expression changing to one of surprise, the first real emotion Taran had seen since arriving. "Impossible. All students are required to have basic cybernetic enhancements for information processing and communication." "Earth doesn't have that technology yet," Taran explained, feeling a mix of embarrassment and defiance. "We use external devices for communication and data storage." The hologram seemed to consider this for a moment before responding. "This is highly irregular. Report to the medical bay for immediate implantation before the ceremony." Taran's stomach churned at the thought. "Is there no alternative? I prefer to rely on my natural abilities." "Inadvisable," the hologram stated flatly. "Without an implant, you'll be unable to access most academy systems or participate fully in classes. Your performance will be severely impaired." Taran set his jaw, a spark of determination igniting within him. "I'll manage. Humans have a long history of adapting to challenging situations." The hologram's form shimmered with what might have been frustration. "Very well. Proceed to the Grand Hall. A manual interface device will be provided, though its capabilities will be limited compared to direct neural linkage." As Taran made his way to the Grand Hall, he could feel the weight of his decision settling upon him. He'd known coming to the Academy would be difficult, but he hadn't anticipated being at such a technological disadvantage from the start. Still, he reminded himself, humans had achieved incredible things without cybernetic enhancements. He would simply have to work harder, think faster, and prove that pure human ingenuity could compete with the most advanced beings in the galaxy. The Grand Hall loomed before him, a vast chamber that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Its ceiling was a swirling nebula, stars being born and dying in real time. The walls shimmered with equations and formulae, the very building blocks of the universe made manifest. As Taryn stepped inside, a hush fell over the assembled students. Thousands of eyes, some singular, others compound or multifaceted, turned to stare at the human in their midst. Taryn fought the urge to shrink back, instead lifting his chin and meeting their gazes steadily. A booming voice echoed through the hall, speaking in a language Taryn didn't understand. A moment later, a small device floating near his ear translated, "Esteemed beings of the galaxy, we welcome you to another year at the Galactic Academy of Sciences. This year, we have a most unusual addition to our ranks, a representative of a newly discovered species, Homo sapiens of the planet Earth." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and Taryn felt his face grow hot under the intensified scrutiny. The voice continued, "While humans are a young and relatively unevolved species, the Academy Board has decided to grant them a probationary position in the interest of galactic diversity. Let us observe how they fare against the rigorous standards of our institution." The words stung, but Taryn refused to let it show. He'd known he'd face prejudice and low expectations. Now, standing before the assembled intelligence of the galaxy, he made a silent vow. He would show them all what humanity was capable of, no matter the odds. As the ceremony continued, outlining the upcoming year's challenges and opportunities, Taryn's mind raced with possibilities. He might lack their technology and their evolutionary advantages, but he had something they couldn't quantify: the indomitable human spirit that had taken his species from caves to the stars. The first test would come soon enough, and Taryn Voss, representative of Earth, would be ready. The Academy's massive holographic display flickered to life, bathing the assembled students in a soft blue glow. Taryn squinted at the rapidly scrolling alien text, grateful for the clunky translation device he'd been given. It wasn't as seamless as the neural implants his classmates used, but it would have to do. "Attention, first-year students," a disembodied voice announced. "Your initial assessment begins now. Report to the Cosmic Coliseum for physical aptitude testing." A ripple of excitement passed through the crowd. Taryn overheard snippets of conversation as his fellow students filed out of the hall. Physical testing. How quaint. A crystalline being chimed, its faceted body refracting light in dazzling patterns. A gelatinous creature oozed by, leaving a faint trail of bioluminescence. "I heard they're reviving some ancient challenges this year. Should be amusing." Taryn followed the crowd, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. He'd trained hard on Earth, pushing his body to its limits, but how would he measure up against beings who could alter their molecular structure at will? The Cosmic Coliseum was a marvel of engineering, a massive dome that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. As Taryn entered, he felt a slight shift, as if gravity itself was recalibrating to accommodate the diverse physiology of the contestants. "Participants, take your positions," the announcer's voice boomed. "The first trial is a test of speed and agility across varying gravitational fields." Taryn moved to an empty starting block, acutely aware of the alien eyes studying him. To his left, a being composed entirely of swirling plasma crackled with energy. To his right, a six-limbed creature with iridescent scales stretched languidly. "Begin in 3, 2, 1. A piercing tone rang out, and Taryn launched himself forward. Immediately, he felt the pull of gravity intensify, as if he were running through thick syrup. Around him, his competitors struggled similarly, their movements slowed and labored. Gritting his teeth, Taryn pumped his arms and legs harder, forcing himself forward. His muscles screamed in protest, but he refused to give in. Slowly, steadily, he began to pull ahead of the pack. Suddenly, the gravity shifted again, becoming lighter than Earth normal. Taryn's next step sent him flying, nearly losing control. But years of gymnastics training kicked in, and he managed to turn the uncontrolled leap into a graceful somersault, landing smoothly and continuing his sprint. The course twisted and turned, gravity fluctuating wildly with each section. Terran's mind raced, calculating trajectories and adjusting his movements on the fly. He drew on every ounce of his training, every lesson in physics and biomechanics he'd studied. As he rounded the final turn, Terran was neck and neck with the plasma being, its form elongating as it surged towards the finish line. With a final burst of speed, Terran lunged forward, crossing the line a fraction of a second before his competitor. Gasping for breath, Terran braced his hands on his knees, scarcely believing what had just happened. A stunned silence fell over the Colosseum, broken only by the faint sizzle of the plasma being as it reconfigured itself. "Impossible," someone in the crowd muttered. "The human won." The announcer's voice crackled to life, a note of surprise evident even through the electronic distortion. First place in the agility trial, Terran Voss of Earth. An unexpected outcome. As Terran straightened, still breathing heavily, he became aware of the stares fixed upon him. Some were filled with disbelief, others with newfound curiosity, and a few with unmistakable hostility. A willowy being with luminous silver skin approached, extending a delicate tendril in what Terran assumed was a gesture of congratulations. "Most impressive Earth-dweller," it said, its voice a melodious whisper. "I am Zara Val, third-year quantum mechanics specialist. Perhaps we underestimated your species' capabilities." Terran accepted the tendril carefully, marveling at its cool, silky texture. "Thank you," he replied, trying to keep the tremor of exhaustion from his voice. "I'm just happy to have made it through in one piece." A harsh laugh interrupted their exchange. A brutish creature with mottled, armored skin shouldered its way forward, looming over Terran. "Don't get too comfortable, dirt child," it growled. "This was a mere warm-up. The real trials are yet to come, and your primitive physiology won't save you then." Terran met the creature's gaze steadily, refusing to be intimidated. "I look forward to the challenge," he said quietly. As the brute stomped away, Zaraval's tendrils rippled in what might have been amusement. "You've made quite an impression, Terran Voss, and perhaps an enemy or two. Life at the Academy is never dull." Before Terran could respond, the announcer's voice rang out again. "Prepare for the second trial, cognitive response under extreme conditions. Participants, report to the mind maze chambers." Terran felt a mix of relief and apprehension. Physical challenges he could handle, but a test of pure intellect against the brightest minds in the galaxy. This would push him to his limits. As he made his way to the mind maze, whispers followed him. The story of the human's unexpected victory was already spreading through the Academy. Terran knew he had shattered some preconceptions today, but it was only the beginning. He would have to prove himself again and again, pushing against the boundaries of what his alien peers thought possible. The mind maze loomed before him, a structure of shifting, crystalline panels that hurt his eyes if he looked at it too long. Terran took a deep breath, centering himself. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them with determination and the unique problem-solving abilities that had taken humanity to the stars. As he stepped into the shimmering entrance of the mind maze, Terran couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a test. It was a turning point, not just for him, but potentially for humanity's place in the galactic community. With each step forward, he carried the hopes and dreams of his entire species. The crystal panels slid shut behind him, and the true trial began. The mind maze shimmered around Terran, its crystalline walls pulsing with an otherworldly light. As he stepped further in, the entrance disappeared, leaving him enclosed in a space that seemed to defy conventional geometry. Initiating cognitive assessment, a disembodied voice announced, "Prepare for neural interface." Terran tensed, remembering his lack of cybernetic enhancements. "Wait, I don't have." Before he could finish, the air around him sparkled, and he felt a strange tingling sensation envelop his body. To his amazement, complex equations and abstract concepts began to form in his mind, as clear as if they were projected before his eyes. "Neural interface established through quantum entanglement," the voice explained. "Commencing trial." What followed was the most intense mental challenge Taran had ever faced. Problems in advanced physics, multidimensional mathematics, and alien philosophy bombarded him in rapid succession. Without his neural implant, Taran couldn't access the vast databases his competitors relied on. Instead, he was forced to draw upon his own knowledge, intuition, and creative thinking. Hours seemed to pass in a blur of calculations and abstract reasoning. Taran's mind raced, making connections and leaps of logic that surprised even himself. When the final problem faded away, he found himself drenched in sweat, mentally exhausted but exhilarated. As the mind maze dissolved around him, Taran stumbled back into the cosmic coliseum. The assembled students and faculty stared at him in stunned silence. Assessment complete. The announcer's voice rang out. Taran Voss of Earth, 94th percentile. An exceptional performance for an unaugmented mind. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Taran caught snippets of conversation. Impossible. How did he access the quantum interface without an implant? Perhaps there's more to these humans than we thought. As Taran made his way through the crowd, he felt a gentle touch on his shoulder. He turned to find Zara Val, the silvery being from earlier, their luminous eyes wide with curiosity. Taran Voss, you continue to confound expectations, Zara Val said, their voice a melodious whisper. I find myself intrigued by your species' cognitive processes. Would you care to join me and some colleagues for sustenance and discussion? Taran nodded gratefully, realizing how hungry he was after the intense trials. I'd be honored, he replied. As they made their way to the Academy's vast dining hall, Taran found himself at the center of a small but diverse group of alien students. There was Enxiclor, a gaseous being contained within a shimmering force field, whose thoughts manifested as swirling colors. Ilara 7, a cybernetic entity from a distant AI collective, and Kexel, a multidimensional being whose true form hurt Taran's eyes to look at directly. As they settled at a table, their meals materializing before them through matter replication technology, the questions began. Tell us, Taran, Ilara 7 asked, her voice a harmonious blend of tones. How does your unaugmented mind process complex quantum algorithms? Taran considered the question as he examined his meal, a nutrient-dense cue that shifted colors and textures as he watched. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, he admitted. I visualize the problems, break them down into simpler components, and look for patterns and connections. It's as much intuition as it is calculation. Enxiclor's gaseous form rippled with interest. Fascinating. Your species relies on biological neural networks for all cognitive functions. No technological assistance at all. Well, we do use computers and other tools, Taran explained, taking a cautious bite of his color-shifting food. But our brains do most of the heavy lifting. We found that human intuition and creativity can sometimes solve problems that stump our most advanced AI. The conversation flowed, touching on topics ranging from Earth's history to the nature of consciousness. Taran found himself engrossed, marveling at the diverse perspectives and forms of intelligence surrounding him. As they talked, Taran noticed other students glancing their way, some with curiosity, others with poorly disguised hostility. The brutish creature from earlier glowered at him from across the hall, its armored fists clenched. Zara Val noticed Taran's unease. Pagrax Thor, no mind, they said softly. His species values physical dominance above all else. Your success threatens his worldview. Taran nodded, but couldn't shake a feeling of unease. He was making friends, yes, but also enemies. And in this alien environment, he couldn't be sure of the consequences. As the meal concluded, Ilara 7 fixed Taran with her multifaceted gaze. You've given us much to ponder, Taran Voss. Your species' approach to problem-solving is unorthodox, but undeniably effective. I look forward to observing your progress. With a chorus of farewells in various alien languages, the group dispersed. As Taran made his way back to his quarters, his mind buzzed with the day's events. He had survived the initial trials, even excelled in them, but he knew this was just the beginning. Reaching his room, a sparse, modular space that reconfigured itself based on his needs, Taran collapsed onto the bed. As he drifted off to sleep, his dreams were filled with swirling equations, shimmering force fields, and the vast, star-filled expanse of the galaxy that was now his classroom. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to prove himself, and somewhere out there, watching his progress, was Earth, counting on him to pave the way for humanity's future among the stars. Weeks flew by at the Galactic Academy of Sciences, each day bringing new wonders and challenges. Taran found himself adapting to the alien environment, his mind expanding to encompass concepts that would have been unimaginable on Earth. Yet, despite his growing comfort, he never forgot the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He was humanity's ambassador to the stars. One morning, as Taran hurried to his xenobiology class, the Academy's communication system crackled to life. "Attention all students," the familiar robotic voice announced. "The annual Cosmic Marathon will commence in 3 solar cycles. All first-year students are required to participate. This will be a true test of endurance, adaptability, and problem-solving across multiple planetary environments." A buzz of excitement filled the corridors. Taran overheard snippets of conversation as he weaved through the crowd of alien students. "The Cosmic Marathon. I heard last year's course spanned 3 different gravity wells. My cousin participated once, said it was the most grueling experience of their lives." Taran's heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. This would be his biggest challenge yet, a chance to prove himself on a galactic stage. As he entered the xenobiology lab, he found his study group already assembled. Zaraval's silvery form shimmered with excitement, while Enxiclo's gaseous body swirled in agitated patterns. "Taran," Elara 7 called out, her cybernetic eyes focusing on him. "Have you heard about the marathon? Are you prepared for such an undertaking?" Taran settled into his seat, a determined smile on his face. "I'm as ready as I'll ever be. On Earth, we have something similar, ultramarathons across extreme terrains. This can't be too different, right?" Caxtel, who had been quietly observing, let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "Oh, sweet summer child," they said, their multidimensional form rippling. "The Cosmic Marathon is unlike anything your planet could conceive. It will push you to the very limits of your existence." Over the next 3 days, Taran threw himself into preparation. He studied the atmospheric compositions of potential planetary stops, practiced rapid adaptation techniques to varying gravity fields, and even attempted to boost his cellular regeneration rate through meditation techniques taught by a particularly enlightened gaseous entity. On the morning of the marathon, Taran stood at the starting line alongside hundreds of alien students. The brutish Graxthol was there too, shooting Taran a menacing glare. "Ready to prove once and for all how inferior your species is, dirt child," he growled. Taran chose not to respond, focusing instead on the shimmering portal before them, the gateway to their first challenge. "Participants," the announcer's voice boomed, "your first destination is the methane seas of Titan. You must retrieve a data crystal from the depths and proceed to the next gateway. Begin." With a great rush, the students surged forward. Taran plunged into the portal, emerging onto the frigid surface of Titan. The thick, orange atmosphere and low gravity immediately threw him off balance. Around him, his alien competitors were already adapting, some growing gills, others transforming into liquid states to dive into the methane sea. Taran took a deep breath, grateful for the protective suit the Academy had provided. He dove into the alien sea, the cold immediately seeping into his bones despite his protection. Using powerful strokes, he propelled himself deeper, scanning for the telltale glint of a data crystal. Minutes passed, feeling like hours in the oppressive alien environment. Finally, Taran spotted a faint glow. With burning lungs, he snatched the crystal and shot towards the surface. As he broke through, gasping, he saw that many of his competitors were already moving towards the next portal. Gritting his teeth, Terran pushed on. The next world was a blazing hot super-Earth, its gravity crushing. Terran's muscles screamed in protest as he dragged himself across the scorching landscape. Some of his alien competitors had already collapsed, their bodies unable to withstand the extreme conditions. World after world, challenge after challenge, Terran pushed himself beyond what he thought possible. A gas giant's upper atmosphere where he had to swim through clouds to find hidden markers. A tidally locked planet, half freezing, half boiling, where navigation depended on careful temperature management. A neutron star's pulsing magnetic field, which played havoc with their sense of direction and even the flow of time itself. Throughout it all, Terran drew upon every ounce of human ingenuity and determination. Where he lacked the ability to shapeshift or alter his molecular structure, he used creative problem-solving and sheer force of will. Hours blended into what felt like days. Terran lost count of how many worlds they had traversed. His body was on the verge of collapse, his mind foggy with exhaustion, but still he pressed on. As he stumbled through what he hoped was the final portal, Terran found himself back in the familiar environment of the Academy's cosmic coliseum. A roar went up from the assembled crowd, a mixture of students, faculty, and even some alien dignitaries who had come to witness the spectacle. Terran blinked, his fatigue-addled mind struggling to comprehend the scene. He had finished, but in what place? Looking around, he saw only a handful of competitors had arrived before him, and there, just a few steps ahead, was Graxthor, his armored body heaving with exertion. With a final surge of energy, Terran sprinted forward, crossing the finish line mere seconds after the brutish alien. The crowd's roar reached a feathered pitch. Unbelievable, the announcer's voice boomed. Graxthor of the Krell Imperium takes first place, with Terran Voss of Earth, yes, Earth, coming in second. This is unprecedented in the history of the cosmic marathon. As Terran collapsed to the ground, his body finally giving in to exhaustion, he was vaguely aware of beings rushing towards him. Through the haze, he saw Zaraval's concerned face, felt Enxaglor's cool gaseous form enveloping him in a supportive embrace. "You did it, Terran," Ilara 7's voice cut through the fog. "You showed them all what humanity is capable of." As darkness crept into the edges of his vision, Terran allowed himself a small smile. He had done more than just complete a race. He had taken a giant leap forward, improving humanity's place among the stars. The last thing Terran saw before losing consciousness was Graxthor's face, twisted in a mixture of grudging respect and simmering resentment. In that moment, Terran knew that while he had won a great victory today, his greatest challenges at the Galactic Academy were still to come. Terran's exceptional performance in the Cosmic Marathon had sent shockwaves through the Galactic Academy of Sciences. As he recovered in the medical bay, surrounded by humming machines and concerned friends, whispers of his feat spread like wildfire through the station. "How did you manage it?" Zaraval asked, their silvery forms shimmering with excitement. Without shape-shifting abilities or molecular manipulation, it should have been impossible. Terran, still groggy from the cellular regeneration treatment, managed a weak smile. "Humans are adaptable. We've survived on a planet with wildly varying environments. I guess that counts for something out here too." Ilara 7's cybernetic eyes whirred as she processed this information. "Fascinating. Your species' resilience is unexpected." As Terran's strength returned over the next few days, he became aware of a shift in the Academy's atmosphere. Many students now regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Even some faculty members had begun to take notice, inviting him to participate in advanced seminars and research projects. But not everyone was pleased with the human's rising star. One evening, as Terran was leaving the quantum mechanics lab, he felt a rough hand grab his shoulder. He spun around to find Graxthor looming over him, flanked by two other hulking aliens. "Listen here, dirt child," Graxthor growled, his breath hot on Terran's face. "Your little stunt in the marathon might have impressed some, but don't get too comfortable. There are forces at work here beyond your primitive understanding." Taran stood his ground, meeting the alien's gaze. "What are you talking about, Graxthor?" The brutish alien leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "Let's just say some of us remember the old stories. Humans aren't as harmless as you'd have us believe. But don't worry, steps are being taken to ensure you stay in your place." Before Taran could respond, Graxthor and his cronies shouldered past him, disappearing into the crowded corridor. Shaken, Taran made his way back to his quarters. What did Graxthor mean by old stories? And what forces was he talking about? Over the next few weeks, Taran threw himself into his studies with renewed vigor, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He began to notice subtle changes around the academy, security protocols tightening, certain areas becoming off-limits, and hushed conversations that would abruptly stop when he approached. His breakthrough came during a late-night study session in the academy's vast library. As Taran pored over ancient star charts, he overheard two faculty members in heated discussion behind a nearby shelf. "Can't ignore the signs anymore," one voice hissed. "The humans are advancing too quickly. If they master faster than light travel." "Calm yourself," the other voice replied. "The Galactic Council is aware. Measures are being taken to slow their progress." Taran's blood ran cold. He held his breath, straining to hear more, but the voices faded as the speakers moved away. Heart pounding, Taran rushed back to his room and called an emergency meeting with his closest friends. As Zaraval, Enxaglo, Ilara 7, and Caxtel gathered around, he recounted everything he had heard and experienced. "I always suspected there was more to your species' history than we were told," Zaraval mused, their form rippling with concern. Enxaglo's gaseous body swirled agitatedly. "But sabotaging an entire species development, that goes against everything the Galactic Council stands for." Ilara 7's cybernetic eyes flickered as she processed the information. "Perhaps not everything is as it seems. My databanks contain references to a group known as the Preservers, an ancient organization dedicated to maintaining the galactic status quo." Caxel, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. "I have seen glimpses, in other dimensions, echoes of a time when humans were more. Something happened, a great fall." Taran felt a chill run down his spine. "We need to find out more. If there's a conspiracy to hold Earth back, we have to expose it." The group spent the next few days gathering information, carefully probing the Academy's databases and eavesdropping on private conversations. Slowly, a picture began to emerge, one that shook Taran to his core. Humans, it seemed, had once been a major force in the galaxy. Eons ago, they had possessed technology and abilities that rivaled the most advanced species. But something had happened, a cataclysmic event that had reduced humanity to a primitive state and quarantined Earth from the rest of the galaxy. Now, with humans rediscovering space travel, certain factions within the Galactic Council feared a repeat of ancient history. They were working behind the scenes to sabotage Earth's development, ensuring humanity remained a minor player in galactic affairs. As Taran and his friends pieced together this shocking revelation, they realized the danger they were in. If the wrong people discovered their investigation, the consequences could be severe. "We have to do something," Taran said, his voice filled with determination. "We can't let them keep Earth in the Dark Ages." Zaraval's form shimmered with resolve. "We're with you, Taran, but we'll need proof, irrefutable evidence to present to the Galactic Council." Encyclor expanded thoughtfully. "I've heard rumors of a secure data vault in the Academy's restricted section. If there's evidence, it would be there." Ilara 7's eyes whirred as she calculated probabilities. Accessing such a vault would be extremely dangerous. The security measures are beyond anything we've encountered. Caxtel's multidimensional form rippled. "I may be able to bend certain realities, create a distraction, but it would be risky." Taran looked at each of his friends, overwhelmed by their loyalty and courage. "Thank you, all of you. I know I'm asking a lot, but this is bigger than just me or Earth. It's about justice for all species in the galaxy. As the group began to plan their daring heist of the Academy's most secure vault, Taran couldn't help but feel the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had come to the Galactic Academy of Sciences to prove humanity's worth. Now he was fighting for his species' very future. Little did they know, their every move was being watched. In the shadows, forces were aligning against them, determined to keep the truth buried and humanity in its place. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Order. The night of their daring plan arrived, shrouded in the artificial twilight of the space station. Taran and his diverse group of friends gathered in a secluded corner of the Academy's arboretum, surrounded by exotic alien flora that pulsed with bioluminescence. Everyone clear on their roles? Taran asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The others nodded, their faces a mixture of determination and apprehension. Caxel's multidimensional form shimmered. I'll create a distraction in the main atrium. It should draw most of the security forces away from the vault. Enxaclaw, and I will handle the electronic security systems, Ilara 7 added, her cybernetic implants glowing softly. Zaraval's silvery tendrils rippled with nervous energy. I'll keep watch and warn you of any approaching patrols. Taran took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. All right, let's move out. Remember, we're not just doing this for Earth. We're doing it for every species that's been held back by this conspiracy. As they made their way through the Academy's winding corridors, Taran couldn't help but marvel at how far he'd come. From a skeptical newcomer to the leader of this unlikely band of allies, united in a cause greater than themselves. Caxel sped off first, heading towards the atrium. Minutes later, alarms blared throughout the station as reality itself seemed to warp in the central hub. Security forces rushed to contain the inexplicable phenomenon, leaving their posts elsewhere. Taran, Ilara 7, and Enxaclaw used the chaos to slip into the restricted section. With Zaraval providing lookout, they worked their way deeper into the heart of the Academy's most secure area. Finally, they reached the vault, a massive structure of unknown alloys and pulsing energy fields. Ilara 7 and Enxaclaw immediately set to work, their combined expertise slowly unraveling the complex security measures. As Taran watched his friends work, a voice cut through the darkness. I'm impressed you made it this far, Dirt Child. Taran spun around to find Graxthor emerging from the shadows, flanked by several stern-looking beings in official Galactic Council uniforms. Graxthor, Taran said, his mind racing. You're part of this conspiracy. The brutish alien sneered. Part of it? Unleading it, you fool. Did you really think we'd let your kind rise to power again? After what happened last time? Taran's friends moved to defend him, but they were quickly surrounded. The situation looked grim. You don't understand, Taran pleaded. Whatever happened in the past, it doesn't justify holding an entire species back. We've evolved, we've learned. Silence. Graxthor roared. You know nothing of your true history. The devastation your ancestors wrought. Suddenly, the vault door hissed open behind them. In the moment of distraction, Taran lunged for the opening, managing to slip inside before the others could react. The interior of the vault was a maelstrom of data streams and holographic displays. Taran's eyes darted frantically, searching for anything that could help. Then he saw it, a pulsing orb of energy, ancient and powerful. Without thinking, Taran reached out and touched it. In an instant, his mind was flooded with images, knowledge, the true history of humanity and its place in the galaxy. He saw the rise of ancient human civilization, their mastery of technology and the cosmos. He witnessed their hubris, the terrible weapons they created, and the catastrophic war that nearly destroyed the galaxy. But he also saw their redemption, how humans had chosen to seal away their advanced knowledge, to start over and evolve naturally, hoping to one day rejoin galactic society as a wiser, more compassionate species. As the visions faded, Taran found himself back in the vault, surrounded by Graxthor and the others. But now he stood tall, his eyes shining with newfound understanding and purpose. "You're right, Graxthor," Taran said, his voice resonating with an authority he'd never felt before. "Humanity's past is filled with terrible mistakes, but we've also shown incredible capacity for growth, for compassion, for overcoming our worst instincts." The orb in Taran's hands began to glow, projecting the truth for all to see. The Galactic Council members watched in awe as the full history unfolded before them. "We sealed away our knowledge voluntarily," Taran continued. "We chose to grow slowly, to earn our place among the stars. And now, we're ready to rejoin galactic society, not as conquerors, but as partners." Graxthor's face contorted with rage, but the other council members began to murmur among themselves, clearly moved by what they'd seen. One of them, a wise-looking being with flowing tendrils, stepped forward. Perhaps we've been too hasty in our judgment. If humans chose this path themselves, do we have the right to keep them from it?" As the debate raged around him, Taran felt a profound sense of peace. He had come to the Galactic Academy to prove humanity's worth, but he had discovered something far greater: the power of unity, of diverse beings coming together to fight for justice. In the days that followed, the revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic community. The conspiracy was exposed, and a new era of openness and cooperation dawned. Earth was officially welcomed into the galactic fold, with Taran and his friends hailed as heroes who had brought about a new age of understanding. As Taran stood on the observation deck of the Academy, gazing out at the star-filled expanse, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find Zaraval, Emsaklor, Ilara 7, and Cuxtotl beside him. "What now?" Zaraval asked, their forms shimmering with curiosity. Taran smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of distant galaxies. "Now we build the future, together, human and alien, united in our quest for knowledge and understanding. The real adventure is just beginning." As they stood there, this unlikely group of friends from across the cosmos, Taran knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. In the vastness of the universe, they had found something precious. A bond that transcended species, a shared vision of a better future for all. The Galactic Academy of Sciences had taught Taran far more than he could have ever imagined. It had shown him the true potential of humanity and the incredible things that could be achieved when diverse beings came together in pursuit of a common goal. As the first rays of a new galactic dawn broke over the horizon, Taran Vos, once an outsider, now a bridge between worlds, looked to the future with hope and determination. The journey of humanity among the stars had only just begun.